G'day all and welcome back to, oh my goodness. Feels like I start every stream just coughing. Welcome back to Freo Faithful for the round 3 teams for our derby game against the West Coast Eagles, the first derby of this season, the away derby. This derby feels like it means the most in a long time. All derbies mean a lot, but if you take a look at our last few derbies, the second one last season was sort of just, we were expected to win. You know, we should probably cruise along, finish in the top 4. It didn't happen in the end. The first derby last season, it was expected to go one way, went the other way in terms of West Coast. And then the season before that, both teams were having a dead rubber season, basically. And in 2022, we cruised along to 2 derby victories. So this one means a lot because both teams are 0-2. The prospect of either of these teams going 0-3 is certainly more scary for Fremantle. But I'm just hoping we battle that possibility. Get in chat if you are here. Let me know what you think about the teams because we are going to have a look at them right now. Here they are. These are the teams. Here we go. So for, first of all, the Fremantle Dockers, Brandon Walker is our only out. And we have a debutant, an absolute shock debutant, to be honest. Wasn't expecting this. But Isaiah Dudley is in for the 23, got announced yesterday. I watched a lot of Isaiah Dudley over the preseason while he was training with us as an SSP, and I absolutely loved him. I think he's a really, really clean ball user, brings pressure inside 50, absolute goal sneak, and he's kicked 2 goals in each of the Peel Thunder practice matches this in the Waffle preseason. So, yeah, I love the addition of Dudley. I think he's going to bring an aspect to our forward line we don't currently have. You know, Shea's pinch hitting in the midfield, who's probably our closest player to that. Or to that mold. I'm not sure who will be sub. It most likely will be Dudley, unfortunately. It could be Banfield. It won't be Draper because he's going to come in for Walker. But here is the 23. Back 6 is Corey Wagner, Alex Pearce, Brandon Cox, Heath Chapman, Luke Ryan, and Jordan Clark. Obviously, just Brandon Walker dropping out of there with Josh Draper moving into there. And I've been quite vocal about my opinion on playing all 3 of Draper, Pearce, and Cox. Interesting, we've opted to not go with either Warner or Aish. In the midfield, we've got Luke Jackson, Caleb Sarong, Andy Brayshaw, Nathan O'Driscoll, Jager O'Meara, Jeremy Sharp. The front 6, Neil Erasmus, who won't be sub because he's been named on ground, Michael Frederick, Shea Bolton, Murphy Reed, Josh Tracy, and Jai Amos. And on the interchange bench, we have Matty Johnson, Isaiah Dudley, Paddy Voss, Bailey Banfield, and Joshua Draper, Warner, Reedy, and Aish as the emergencies. Am I happy with that? Look, we were discussing on the podcast throughout the week about Bailey Banfield. And not Bailey Banfield. We were discussing throughout the week about Will Brodie. And we were saying he might be the guy we bring in. You know, that sort of dirty, ugly, in and under player that gets the ball out to our cleaner ball users like a Sarong or a Brayshaw. We haven't gone that route, as expected. I wasn't really expecting Brodie to play. So we've gone with the same midfield mix. This same midfield mix that has got us pummeled so often recently. So Sarong, Brayshaw, and O'Meara and Johnson making up that mix. Bolton will pinch it in there, obviously. I thought O'Driscoll played a really good game through the middle again last week. But it's just, we need to find the right in-game dynamic. I actually think we look like we're a better midfield when Nathan O'Driscoll runs through there. He gives us that speed. He's that Hayden Young mold that we miss when we just go with that Sarong, Brayshaw, O'Meara. So we need a bit of speed in that midfield because when you look at Harley Reid, yes, he hasn't had a great start to the season, but I've still just got a bit of PTSD from that first derby last year where he killed us because we were such a slow midfield. We got our positioning all wrong. Fifey was on the wrong side of him 9 times out of 10. It wasn't a good watch. In terms of the back 6, as I just said, I've been quite vocal about how I feel when Pearce, Cox, and Draper all play in the same game. I think it's a really tall back line. I think we probably could have gone with an Aish sort of type to replace Walker. But again, I wasn't expecting it. It's quite a vanilla, mind the pun. I'm not even sure if it's a pun anymore. It's just depressing. Yeah, it's quite a vanilla team selection from JL. What's not vanilla is the inclusion of Isaiah Dudley. As I said, he's probably going to be sub named on that bench. It'd be a nice surprise to see Banfield in the vest and, you know, chucking Dudley in the 22, which I think he deserves. I think debuting a player in the sub vest is so disrespectful. And I think in a derby especially, imagine chucking a first gamer on midway through the third quarter. Yes, he might bring an impact, but there's an equal chance of him struggling to get into the game. So, yeah, I really feel like Dudley should be in the 22, but I've got doubts about it. About our front six, Sam Sturt's still injured, so we can't bring him in. We can't move Jackson to the forward line because Darcy is still a couple weeks away. So, yeah, expected front six. Erasmus named on a high half forward, same as Shea Bolton. They'll play a similar role. I'm interested to see, and I'm hoping to see Shea Bolton play a little bit more forward this week because he swung through the midfield quite a bit against Sydney. And then we're still going with that two-tall structure of Tracy and Amos with Paddy Voss as well, named there on the bench. I'm hoping Paddy Voss can actually find the big sticks today. Let's take a look at chat before we move on to West Coast and matchups. We've got 23 in here. Cobb says, oh my God, I'm so sorry for this coughing. I've just had this same thing for about 3 weeks. Cobb says, lots of JL's favourites still getting a gig. It is a bit. Now, I think that can sort of be debunked with the inclusion of Isaiah Dudley because that's a really out there inclusion. I think the easy thing would have been to just shuffle a few magnets around and find a way for Carl Warner to get in the side, which he very, very easily could have done. But I'm happy he's doing something different. That being said, the midfield mix needed to change. Whether that was Will Brodie, I think we maybe should have gone there. I'm not going to pound on about Will Brodie, though, because I'm not one of those people that is hell-bent on him being in that 22, because I definitely see his flaws, that one-dimensional, slow sort of build that Brodie is. But I would have liked to see something different, such as him. JL said in this presser that Dudley won't be the sub. Really? Well, I should have watched the presser during school today. And I usually do before the team stream. But I was going to watch the presser after this stream. And okay, so Dudley won't be the sub. So I'm going to assume Banfield cops the vest because Draper's coming in for Walker. Jono won't get it because we need a mid to roll through. And Vossi definitely won't get it. So, or maybe we play Banners as a third tall and chuck Vossi in the vest. Who knows? Wait, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think Banners will be in the vest if Dudley isn't. Cobb says the Brodie one is very puzzling. There's obviously something that's happened internally and it would be nice to at least respect the members enough to be transparent. It's interesting. Like, it must be something internal. It's so puzzling after everything he did for our club in 2022 for him just not to see the field, or very rarely. He's probably played 3 games since 2023. It's really puzzling. But I don't know if it's internal. Who knows? Bit of info for Duds. Yeah, so he won't be the sub. I'm happy about that. That is something I'm really, really happy about with Justin Longmuir. The overall aspect of debuting someone in the sub vest is overall something I don't like. But especially when it's someone or of a mold that we're crying out for. Like an Isaiah Dudley type would have been fantastic against Sydney last week. He brings so much pressure. He's a live wire. And honestly, when I was watching him in the preseason, he's got a lot of likeness to Murphy Reed. Very clean with ball at hand. He knows how to find the big sticks. He can push up into a high half forward sort of. Brings pressure. He gets in the right positions. A bit of a Murphy Reed type in a way is Dudley. Obviously a lot more forward prominent. But yes, certainly a mold that we've been crying out for. Adrian Deadly Dudley. Yes, sir. Draper could be sub again. I don't see it because he's coming in for Walker, surely. We wouldn't have a defensive rotation then. Like if we put Draper as sub, we wouldn't have a defensive rotation off the bench. So no, Draper won't be sub. Exactly, Jacob. You've just taken the words out of my mouth. Draper only defensive rotation. Banfield will be sub. We can 99% sure lock that in. If JL said Dudley's not going to be it, we need Draper as a defensive rotation. We need Jono as a midfield rotation. We need Vossi, obviously, as a third tall. Banners will be sub. We can pretty much lock that in. We've got 18 in. Get in chat if you haven't already. Let me know about your thoughts on the team. We'll now take a look at West Coast. They've made 2 changes. Jack Petruccelli, who was the sub last week, has come out. And bafflingly, Clay Hall is out. Now, Clay Hall last week, I watched that West Coast Brisbane game. And I've already read some of the comments on the West Coast team selection post. And their fans are not happy about Clay Hall being omitted. If we look at the Brisbane game last week, where West Coast lost by 19 points, Clay Hall for the West Coast Eagles, had 15 disposals and a goal. This is a man with very limited AFL experience. I am absolutely baffled that he's been dropped for West Coast. I honestly can't believe that. Petruccelli, not as surprising. Jack Graham is into the team. I was expecting just a straight swap Graham for Petruccelli or something. But Jack Williams has also come into the team. He is a bit of a key position player. West Coast as a whole, their unit is looking like this. Their back six, Brady Hoff, Harry Edwards, Ruben Jimby, Liam Baker, Jeremy McGovern, Tom Cole. In the middle, Bailey Williams, Harley Reid, Liam Duggan, Jack Graham, Tim Kelly, Jaden Hunt. Their front six, Tyler Brockman, Archer Reid, Liam Ryan, Matt Owies, Oscar Allen, and Jamie Cripps. And their bench is Elijah Hewitt, Noah Long, Ryan Marrick, Jack Williams, and Tyrell Diwa. Emergencies being Matt Flynn, Bo Allen, and Clay Hall. Looking at matchups, let me quickly take a look at Shaq before I jump into that. Good to see Chappie starting. The bloke can play and is a good reader. Oh, he's so crucial to that back six. We were speaking about it on the pod after the Geelong game. I think Drews was saying that we don't just want Chappie to be a best 18, a best 22 player. We want him to be a core staple of that team. Like, he's got so much talent. Hopefully Chappie, look, an outside chance that Matt Johnson gets the sub best and Chappie comes in as a midfield rotation. I mean, how good would that be? I doubt it'll happen, but I'd love to see something different like that. If that's the change we're going to make at the contest, we need to make some change to the contest because currently I've seen nothing. Banfield now has father-son rules, so he could play first for Freo. Yeah, that. Banfield, 100 games this weekend. Jai Amos, 50 games. So shout out to them. Looking at the matchups, if we look at West Coast back six versus our front six, the obvious matchup for me. So it's actually not obvious, to be honest. So first glance, you say McGovern goes to Tracy. That doesn't happen, though. Harry Edwards is far more suited to Tracy. Bit more agile. He can run with Tracy as he pushes up the ground. McGovern will probably take the responsibility of an Amos. But I don't think it necessarily has to be like a lockdown man-on-man role on Amos. I think he's sort of going to be manned on Amos, but he's going to float across and intercept wherever Tracy is. Sort of go try take on a 2-on-1. I think Harry Edwards will try stick to Tracy and nullify him as much as he can. I rate Harry Edwards a lot, but I rate Josh Tracy more. So hopefully he can push through that. But that's sort of the way I see that tall matchup going. The interesting one as well is Shea Bolton. Most likely Brady Hoff goes to him. Brady Hoff is a player I rate so highly. Brady Hoff's one of those players I would steal like a heartbeat if I could. I absolutely love the way he plays. One of my favorite West Coast players, if I can even say that. He'll probably run with Shea Bolton. Every time, the thing is, Shea Bolton pinch hits a lot in the midfield. And every time Brady Hoff goes in the midfield, he tends to be swallowed up by some bigger bodies. So there's an outside chance that Hoff maybe goes to a Murphy Reid instead, as Murphy Reid does play a bit more forward and would reduce that workload on Hoff. But the most likely thing is that he does go to Bolton. Baker probably picks up an Erasmus. They'll both push up. That would be quite a like for like. Ruben Jimby will probably take I don't know. I mean, third tall, potentially Jimby goes to a Voss. I mean, that's maybe what West Coast will do. And Tom Cole will probably go Frederick's way, is what I'm thinking. In the midfield, Kelly, Reid, and Duggan versus O'Meara, Sarong, and Brayshaw, obviously with some different numbers rolling through there as well. Jack Graham will obviously get a heavy run through there. He's a great inside bull. Look, West Coast have a bit of speed coming out of there. And Duggan also might play off halfback. I'm not sure if that's accurate that he's going to be listed in the middle. But if he is, there's a bit of speed in that midfield. Let's hope we're not too flat-footed with Sarong, Brayshaw, and O'Meara. We need a bigger body in there. Can we trial a Chapman through there or something? We just need someone behind the ball. We need to get that mix right because we have pounded on about this for the first 2 weeks against Geelong and Sydney. And from the looks of it, nothing's changed at the selection table unless we get something remarkable and Chapman goes into a midfield role or Driscoll gets bigger responsibility because we need a big body in there. And I'm not necessarily sure Noddy's the answer, but we've got to try something because he's looked good every time we've rolled him through there. If Harry Edwards played like he did on Max King, then Tracy could have a day out. Well, I rate Harry Edwards, but he's still a young player. You know, people have kick bags on him. I'm hoping Josh Tracy's going to be one of those players that does. But yeah, Harry Edwards is a player I like a lot. He's probably going to go to Tracy. We just need to get a win. No excuses. Once Young and Darcy are back, we should get on a roll. Yeah, well, Young should play against the Bulldogs next week, and based off all reports, Darcy will probably play Waffle next week. Then he'll either be back for the Richmond or the Melbourne game. Probably gather around to Richmond. Looking at our back six, their front six, their three tools are going to be Archer Reed, Oscar Allen, and Jack Williams, probably, I'm going to assume. No Jake Waterman, so I'm going to assume Jack Williams does go in. I was at the Back Chat live event last night, and I think it was Will Schofield said that something I agree with massively. If Oscar Allen doesn't kick 3 or 4 goals, West Coast won't get close to winning this game, which is why our main target in that forward line has to be nullifying Oscar Allen. He hasn't had a great start to the season. Even stretching back to last year, he hasn't been in great form, but we cannot be naive to his talent. Oscar Allen's a fantastic player. Obvious matchup is probably Pierce to the eye. Allen pushes up the ground a lot, so when he does, I'm not expecting Pierce to go with him. He'll probably occupy a bit of a spare role. But yeah, that's probably what will happen. Jack Williams will probably be occupied by Brennan Cox type, but again, he might just Cox will probably roam across on Allen like McGovern will on Tracy. We don't have Brandon Walker, which doesn't give us an obvious matchup for any of Brockman, Rhinoes, or Cripps, who are 4 absolute bona fide small forwards. Like, if you look at our small forward line, Bolton's a forward that plays mid. Erasmus is a mid that plays forward. Murphy Reed's pretty 50-50. Isaiah Dudley's really our only luck for actual small forward. West Coast have 4 of them. They've all got forward craft. And having no Brandon Walker, this isn't the week to have no Brandon Walker because all 4 of those players on their day can kick goals. So we need to be careful. Jordan Clark probably goes to a Liam Ryan. I think he's probably the most dangerous. Brockman might have a bit more pace about him, which could lead Clark going there. Wagner will pick up one of them. Chappie and Ryan might have to play a bit smaller. Depending on the sub situation as well, that will change everything too. So, yeah, real interesting what we do with that West Coast front six. And, yeah, in terms of their bench, who I'm thinking is going to be their sub, they've got a lot of small forwards already. Tyrell Dewar played way too well last week to not play. So I'm going to assume Noah Long probably goes into the vest. I'm surprised he's even still in the team, to be honest, Longy. Tracy Coleman boost. I hope so, mate. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Hopefully he can have an absolute day out on Harry Edwards. But as I've already said, we are not taking this West Coast side lightly because last time we did that, we all know what happened. Yeah, Paddy, to be honest, outside of this channel, just in my everyday life, I've been avoiding all derby conversation because I'm just terrified. Like, first derby of last year, I was taking the piss in the lead up all week. I was being one of those arrogant Fremantle fans where we were going a bit too well, we actually weren't going well at the time. We were expected to go well, though. And I was a bit arrogant. West Coast were horrific. And Harley just came and tore us a new one. So we've got to be very careful. It's either Drapes or Duds a sub. Well, apparently JL said in his presser, and I'm going to watch after this, that Dudley won't be sub. So it leaves Johnson, Voss, Banfield, Draper. It's probably going to be Banfield because we need Draper as defensive rotation. So yeah. Stealth, West Coast wins 347-42, making a record victory. Thank you, mate. I'm sure that will happen. That would be incredible. Imagine the views on the fan cams if we had a result of 347-42. I like this creative thinking. Could Banfield play back and Draper sub? Well, if you remember last year, particularly early in the season, Bailey Banfield played a bit of backline. He's a bit of a Mr. Fix-It for JL. He's sort of what James Aish was. Which is why Banfield's probably still in the team because of his versatility. Maybe we do that. We could do that. Maybe we chuck Draper a sub, Banfield back, Chappie into the midfield with a bit of a rotation. Like, that could always happen. Isaiah Dudley in the 22 as a forward rotation. That would actually probably make sense. The obvious answer is Banfield as sub, but something like that could happen. Yeah, Stealth, mate. I want what you're smoking. Banfield is a good sub, was in the vest for all 22 and works. Yeah, he's a great impact player. A really, really good impact player. Impact player is Bailey Banfield. He's that nice height, or he's an awkward height for the opposition where there's never really an obvious matchup for him because he can play a bit taller, play a bit smaller. he's a Bailey Fritsch mold. Obviously not to the caliber of Bailey Fritsch, but he's that sort of mold. The Banfields and the Sturts. I'd love a Sam Sturt to come back as soon as we can, because whenever Darcy doesn't play, playing Sturt as a third tall might be more viable than playing Voss. I've actually thought about during the week, do we dabble with a smaller forward line? Going Banfield as third tall, not playing Voss. But I think Voss's general game and leading patterns are too good to ignore. It was just this set shot kicking that completely cost him last game, which he needs to fix up. Ever since he's come to Freo, he hasn't been a great set shot. And I remember in the community series against Melbourne, he kicked 2 goals straight, both from set shots, beautiful kicks. Maybe it's just because he's used to playing down in Mandurah for Peel. But yeah, look, he's got the ability, Paddy Voss. He's got everything he needs to be a good key forward at AFL level. He's got the size, he's got the craft. He just needs the accuracy. Youngie and Darcy will be back next week. Darcy won't be back next week. I'm going to assume he plays Waffle. Next week he plays Tim English. It would be handy to have Darcy versus Tim English, but I think Jackson could probably hold his own. We'd love Darcy back for Nankervis. We've got a few tough rack matchups coming up. So next week, Tim English. Week after, Toby Nankervis. Week after that, Max Gawn. And then into Riley O'Brien. There's some big bodies. Some big, big boys. And I think after Riley O'Brien, it might be Kieran Briggs. No, it would be Rowan Marshall, actually. Big bodies, mate. Rowan Marshall was arguably best ruck in the comp. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough physical battle for Sean Darcy upon return. But yeah, it's something he's going to have to respond to, because we're going to need him. Jackson back in that forward mix is going to be so nice for us. And having Darcy at his best is absolutely crucial just to us playing good football. Get any of your last chats in. We're approaching the half an hour mark. The Carlton Bulldogs game starts in 28 minutes, so you can all settle down and watch some Friday night football. Coming up, we've got a patch of 3 straight primetime games. We go Friday night against Adelaide, Friday night against St Kilda, Thursday night against Collingwood. So, mate, we're going to be the primetime Dockers soon, which will mean the team's streams will be on Wednesdays and Thursdays. But I will be back for the next team stream next Friday for the Sunday game against the Western Bulldogs at Optus Stadium. I'm not sure if there'll be a team stream in week 5, because that is Gather Round. I will be in Adelaide for Gather Round. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Interesting at the selection table. I'm happy with the Isaiah Dudley inclusion. He won't be sub, so that whole sub talk's going to be very interesting. We've got a few guys we can rotate in different places. We need something different at the contest this week. I think that's my main takeaway. We haven't seen it at the selection table. Will it be in-game changes? I really hope it is, because we need to nullify that West Coast midfield. Maybe they don't get going every game, but when they do get going, they're dangerous enough. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all for the team stream next Friday for our game against the Bulldogs. Join Druzy for the fan cams live on Sunday night, post-game of Derby 60. After the Dockers, let's get our first win of the season. Cheers.